Hey there guys, Daniel here and welcome back to the Mo Dance Garage. Today we're going to be doing a fuel filter change on my 1150gs. We're also going to be changing all the internal fuel hoses. First off, you need to remove the fuel tank. If you don't know how to do that, check out this video up there. You also need to have some parts as well. So I've ordered a heap of parts. This is one of the most important things here. This is the U-bend for the fuel pipe. Now this is quite common for braking because people never change it and it's quite expensive. Was it like 50, 60 New Zealand dollars for that? I'd probably recommend changing it every 5 years or so. I'm also going to be changing all the internal fuel hoses as well, so I've got a length of internal high pressure submersible fuel line and a heap of external high pressure fuel line. Now that submersible stuff is quite expensive as well, but like I said, if you're only doing it every 5 years, it's worth doing. I've got a new fuel filter and a heap of these clamps here. Now these are the clamps that I use. They're like that. These are pretty good ones. The stock ones, I think they're crimped on there, so we'll be cutting them off. And they're much better than the actual screw type hose clamps because they end up damaging the hose. These are designed for high pressure lines, so these are the ones you want to use. And also a new gasket for the plate for the fuel pump. I've just got to sit on this large box here to hold it. We want to stand it up on the right hand side so we can access the fuel pipe. Now for this job there does need to be very little fuel in there. Just keep an eye on the filler cap just in case you start getting any fuel leaking out there. I've got nothing on mine, so my fuel level is pretty good. This is your fuel, I'd probably call it a sender unit cover, fuel tank cover, something like that. We want to remove these 8mm bolts all the way around here and then lift this piece up. Before we start, just to give it a wipe, get any of the loose dirt and all that away. Now this definitely has been off before because there's a match mark on there. So I'll just redo that so we can clearly see it. So just put a mark on your tank, like so, and then one onto the sender unit. These bikes are also bad for the liners of the fuel tank coming loose and blocking everything up in there, so it's a good chance to inspect that. I've never actually personally seen it on any of my bikes, but Google says it's common. Now we need to lift this up and there will be a couple of breather lines on there that we have to disconnect. Let's see. Right. Those two pipes here are the breather lines. Well, actually one of them will be the overflow for the cap and the other one will be a breather. So once we get them off, you can see the pump and all that's pointing this way, so we can, once we get that off, we can lift it up out that way. You can see there the match mark that I put on it. So that's the type of hose clamp that's on the inside. And now to get them off, you want to get a screwdriver in there and lever this up like that, and that will pop, top bit will unhook over there and release the pressure. Then all you do is just get a pair of snips and crimp them together to tighten them back up. I actually just used a pair of snips there and crimped them together and popped it up. That was way easier than trying to use a screwdriver. Now this whole unit should lift up and out. There we go. Oh, look at that. Not sure if that, see that big blob there? That's water. See all that crap in the bottom? Oh, there's heaps of water in there. I don't know if you can see that, can you? I'm going to have to pour all that out. The actual liner itself looks okay, there's not any big chunks anywhere, which is good. all those little chunks there and little bits of rust there. Nothing major. I think that's mostly just off the filler neck when you're putting the thing in, but that water's a bit of a concern. Right, so up on the bench here there's a few things to point out. You can see these hose clamps here on the fuel filter have been changed before, so it's definitely had a fuel filter replacement at some point. It doesn't look like it's been very recently. This hose, this U-bend one, still has the original crimp type clamp on it, and so does both of the fuel pump ones. So I would imagine this is still the original fuel pump and that's still the original hose there. That's your fuel sender unit here. It goes up and down on that we pick up there. There's a wee bit of surface rust in here. It's nothing major, and also these terminals on the fuel pump look a bit crusty, so I will take them off and clean them up. So these crimp type ones, we actually have to cut them off, and they are steel, so you want to get a good pair of snips in there. I got these Tool Pro ones from Supercheap, and they're honestly the best snips that I've ever had. We just want to remove the fuel pump, the fuel filter, sorry. I think I'll have to remove the sock from the bottom, will we? The pipe will go up far enough. Right. There we go. As you can see, there is not much of that submersible hose that you actually have to change in here. I think I bought about 1 metre of it on my last GS, and I still had it sitting there, so I'll try and leave this pump here. All I'm literally going to try and do here is I'm going to put a rag down. Just getting fuel everywhere. I'm going to get these terminals off here and clean all this up because it's quite crusty there. Even that does look pretty crusty on the camera, but I'll clean that up. I'm not overly concerned with that. None of the wiring looks corroded or anything, which is good. It's literally just the nuts. Now the reason that is rusting like that is purely because of the water inside the tank. And that water inside the tank generally comes from condensation, especially on your metal tanks. So this bike is a UK original. So it came out from, I think, the UK in, I can't remember what year it was around about 2010, 2011. And it came out here with 59,000 miles on it. So a fair bit of miles in the 8 odd years it was in the UK. Must have been somebody's commuter bike, I would imagine. And then I bought it with just under 60,000 on it, so it's literally, it's done probably like 1,000, it's done under 2,000 miles anyway in New Zealand in the last 12 years. So it's what happens with your metal fuel tanks, especially when it's cold, and it is quite cold. It can get quite cold in New Zealand. Condensation forms on the inside, and then it drips down into the fuel. A couple of things you can do to avoid that is make sure your fuel tank is completely full, like absolutely brim to the top. If there's no sort of air in there, then the water can't form. And the other thing is just completely empty it. I always go with the fill it full method. The main streak's currently been off the road for like 6 months now, and the fuel tank is rimmed full on that, and that'll be fine. I'm happy with those terminals now. They're both cleaned up and on there tight. Right, now we can put on some new fuel lines. So we'll grab our fuel line. Now I don't have proper cutters for these, so I just use snips. It's not the best, but it does the job. So this one here is a bit tricky. We need to kind of pull it on there. kind of use a screwdriver to lever it up and over. We'll just use a screwdriver to push it back on. Ow. Do not do that, you just stab myself. I have to go mega tight with these. Just a nip up with a screwdriver. Put our second one on. KL145 is the part number. I bought it from Motorworks in the UK. That's generally where I buy my BMW parts. They are, never had a problem with them. Service is good, prices are much cheaper than here. Right, so the fuel filter does have a direction arrow on it. So it wants to go this way, so it's coming out. Fuel pump sucks up on this sock here, pushes it down round and this way. So that's the way we want to go. Let's put this new U-bend on. I was going to say it would be worth keeping the old U-bend as a spare, but by the looks of it, it's... Oh yeah. I'm not sure if you can focus on this. Look at that. Can you see all those wee cracks in it? This was fit to burst. I nip these all up. And I'll probably do this fuel filter every couple of years. Replace these external lines here. Now I bought 2 meters of this external high pressure hose. We definitely don't need that much, but I'd rather have too much than not enough, and we can use it for other things. The quick release. We'll just tighten this one up. I'll just go and try and empty that water out of the tank now, and then we can put it back in. Got my new gasket here, my new rubber O-ring. You do need to change these every time, they will swell up and not go back in. There's a groove on the tank that we need to put it in, but it can sit there just now. So you can see the groove here where the seal needs to sit, the rubber O-ring. And we want to try and match our match marks back up, so the pump goes in this way. So just watch your center unit. Your wee float there, and push this in, making sure your O-ring is in the right place. Well, that's where it needs to be. Now we need to try and get those breather hoses back on. Oh, look at that. Perfect. Right, we need to get this O-ring sitting in the correct place. Line our match marks back up. So let's come way around here. these in the hole. Yep. I'll leave torques in the description if you want to torque these, but literally just a wee nip will do them. Sweet. Right guys, that's how to change your fuel filter on your BMW 1150gs. Overall, pretty easy job to do. Those breather hoses are a little bit fiddly, but I got there in the end. I will change those, probably change that fuel filter every 2 years, and I'll change those hoses every 5. Now that U-bend hose especially, that was the original one by the looks of it, and that has lasted, well, that's a 20-year-old bike now with 100,000, 110,000 Ks on it. But I'd rather do the preventative maintenance, and along those lines it looks like the original fuel pump, so I may or may not order one in the near future and just at least have one on hand in case I need to change it. But like I said, this pump in here is really quiet, so I think it's all good. Anyway guys, if you found this video helpful, mind to give me a thumbs up and like the video and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, and I will catch you all next time. See you later.